Hello, I'm Nancy Sutherland. I'm excited for another opportunity for us to enhance and build our selling relationship as we discuss negotiations in the selling engagement. I ask you to approach this lecture meditatively. Think of the last time you were involved in some sort of negotiation. It could be with your spouse, your friends, your parents, teachers, or anyone else that comes to mind. As you think about the negotiation that took place, ask yourself if you were successful in meeting your objectives for that selling engagement. You might marvel that I say selling engagement, yet I have emphasized in my lectures that you are personally selling in each relational exchange with the statement that we should do our due diligence and due care to deliver value-increasing behaviors over value-detracting behaviors, thereby enhancing the relationship. Ask yourself if you were effective as a negotiator and how effective the other party was as a negotiator. Since everyone is involved in negotiations, the lecture material is a direct benefit to all. I state again that selling content is directly applicable in professions outside of a selling career and in all personal engagements. Further, know that salespeople are increasingly required to engage in negotiation selling. More responsibility is placed upon the salesperson due to the perplexity of the product and business marketplace. Doing business is just not as simple as with fewer product offerings and industries of years past. However, a salesperson will not usually engage in negotiations as an entry-level sales representative right out of college. Negotiations are the decision-making processes through which buyers and sellers resolve areas of conflicts and arrive at agreements. The goal of both parties, meaning buyer and seller, should be to reduce and resolve conflict. As I regularly use the Business Dictionary online, this resource states that negotiations are the bargaining, give and take process between two or more parties, each with its own aims, needs, and viewpoints, seeking to discover a common ground and reach an agreement to settle a matter or mutual concern or resolve a conflict. If we evaluate these words with critical analysis, it becomes apparent that two or more parties with distinct aims, needs, and viewpoints, seeking their needs satisfied, will bring about conflict, as those involved in the negotiation session are generally discussing the allocation, distribution, appropriation of finite resources used to generate greater capital and revenue with the intent of further sustainability of both businesses. Thus, the value exchange must be the understanding in the negotiating meeting. All participants must receive value and be able to foster sustainability. From a relationship understanding, disparity is in the definition of negotiation with statement of opposing forces of two wills colliding. When two wills collide, one must acquiesce or surrender, or there is collision. If one participant of the negotiation feels that they are always the one giving up or giving in, bitterness can result, which over time will adversely affect the relationship, resulting in not doing business together. The true value exchange in negotiation will result in the good for both or all parties involved. Succinctly, selling value should result as in non-negotiating selling, further stating that the negotiation is not a win for either parties if there is not selling value. No business exchange coerced on either part creates selling value. Granted, this negotiating the business deal may take time, as real conversation over tough subjects is hard and is a process. Yet in business and personal affairs, as with all decisions, there are positive externalities that affect all of society, as well as negative externalities that adversely affect all of society. It is wise counsel to not knee-jerk in the work of negotiations, as the effective decision-making can have long-term consequences. Therefore, I must impress you with the need to continue the relationship as the model of best practice, defined as a technique or methodology that through experience and research has proven reliably to lead to desired result. Thus, the focus of the buyer-seller engagement should be a win-win negotiating, with negotiator attempts to secure an agreement that satisfies both parties versus win-lose negotiating, with negotiator attempts to win all the important concessions and thus triumph over the opponent. As the basis or model of best practice being the relationship, the win-losing negotiating is in stark contrast to my sales lecture content, as it resembles almost every competitive sport and the sequelae of our society of broken marriages and broken homes. Comparatively, regular sales calls are constrained and not open to change or negotiation. That is why the effective salesperson characteristics can differ from the effective negotiator. Selling negotiations differ from regular sales calls, as they require more intensive planning and include a large number of people from the selling firm. Typically, this level of selling is at the top level of business, meaning formal negotiations involve very large or important prospective buyers. Furthermore, salespeople can try to determine the buyer's strategy and goals of the negotiation to ensure successful negotiations. Does this not bring back lecture content? This statement refers to the relationship, which is still king, as the salesperson is to be extremely in tune with the buyer in the negotiation process. The salesperson, as a negotiator, should also listen to buyers' feedback and adjust proposals. We've discussed the need for active listening, as this is key to a win-win negotiation that will affect and grow the relationship. The salesperson should also never offer a lower price that he or she does not know for sure will be able to be honored. Thus, do not fall into the temptation of saying you can lower price in negotiation unless you are sure that you can, as this is unethical and highly disrespectful, which are both behaviors that adversely affect the relationship and do not result into selling value. A good negotiator must further exhibit strong relational, personal skills of patience. When you deal with the buyer's idiosyncrasies and ambiguities, you will be stressed. This level of deep engagement with others requires patience and endurance for the long haul. Thus, the win-win negotiator can tolerate a lot of ambiguity. If we just use common language, the successful negotiator yields himself to put up with individuals and their behaviors that are provoking. As you reflect upon our prior discussions as well, remember that I have emphasized the need for patience and endurance in the relationship. Similarly, the successful negotiator also will exhibit the willingness to take risk. My deceased husband was truly keen in the willingness to take risk in his business. This type of ability is seen much in many entrepreneurs and/or business owners. He was literally brilliant and skilled in this level of work. He negotiated monies for capitalization with mature bankers in his early years of business, as at this time he was in his 20s. This took much conversational ease and confidence to ask for money, the reasoning, and get the capitalization. As his business was a luxury product, he continually negotiated every proposal for business, As I reflect upon him, I can see how strong of a formal contract negotiator that he was. In like manner, in negotiating selling, items such as the amount of inventory levels the buyer must maintain, the amount of inventory levels the seller must keep on hand to be able to restock the buyer quickly, details about the design of the product or service, web page development, how the product will be manufactured, display allowances for resellers, advertising allowances and the amount of advertising the seller does, sales promotion within the channel of distribution, delivery terms and conditions, and retail and wholesale pricing points for resellers are items that must be negotiated by buyers and sellers. One can easily see that these items can easily be issues of conflict. You must understand that the qualities of a successful negotiator are not necessarily the same qualities as a successful salesperson. I have great skills in salesmanship, yet I need growth in negotiational skills. Know that at some point in a sales career, a salesperson will need to engage in negotiations, with most firms providing excellent training in negotiating formal agreements. Thus, salespeople are not left to learn these skills on their own. Albeit, hard conversations are not innately my skill set, as I'm not one that looks for confrontation as my bent. Please note that business and much life require hard conversations. I have honed much the ability to work with the ambiguities of others, thereby demonstrating much patience and endurance of others. In fact, all my years of selling and business relationship, coupled with my life of being a wife, mother, and friend, have honed these attributes, which are value increasing in the relationship in the negotiation setting. I do have work yet to be done in the ability to initiate and handle hard conversations, however. My self-development plan has much purposeful intentionalities to increase my negotiation skills, as my former sales career had not business negotiations task as my responsibility to bring about a formal negotiated agreement. At that time, this work was conducted by the key account representative. Yet I am not a novice either, as I did execute much formal contract with extensive work with pharmacy and therapeutic committees, utilizing the particular buying group specific for that hospital institution, thereby preparing cost analysis to be utilized to move the hospital to a formal replacement of the targeted pharmaceutical with my more cost-effective, equally efficacious pharmaceutical. I further had responsibility to execute collaborative synergistic relationships for institutions to receive capital equipment and pharmaceuticals to be utilized with the equipment in exchange for capturing clinical data. As I have coached each of you, I have stated that this level of professional work is line upon line, precept upon precept, and typically is not a gift, but learned through literal grit and perseverance. Therefore, I do not want anyone fearing. Hardcore formal negotiation is learned and practiced. In fact, all that I have discussed in my lectures is learned content with fierce intentionality and practiced. My growth in negotiation skills from a business and academia thought leadership position is paramount, as I must as a leader continue to build and refine my negotiation skills to create value and build positive relationships with all my clients, vendors, and internal stakeholders that I employ. I have shared that at each negotiation step in the selling engagement, the building of the relationship must be the model of best practice. Thus, negotiating selling should be relationship-centric. In fact, you will be served if you make the relationship your focal point in all your relational engagements. I am Nancy Sutherland. I'm honored to deliver this business content.